So I have a question. Have you ever thought about how the food you're eating got to your specific plate and what that food really is, where it came from, and why are you putting it in your body? Should you be putting it in your body? Is it good for you? Is it going to do anything for you? Basically, knowing what you're putting into your body. I think most of us probably have. Health is all the rage right now, but for the most part, the food industry is very secretive, and we really don't know a lot about that. You can't eat something and research where did this come from very easily. So today, I'm going to talk to you about factory farming specifically and how that impacts your health, impacts workers, impacts animals. So first of all, I'm going to start with this. This is from Robert Kenner, who produced and took part in the movie Food Inc., which was in 2008. I encourage every single one of you to watch this movie and share this movie with others. It's a documentary, it's amazing, and it totally changed the way I look at food, but I think it's definitely for the better. So he says, our nation's food supply is now controlled by a handful of corporations that often put profit ahead of consumer health. And what this basically means is that these large companies are just trying to produce as much as possible. So you've often heard probably about hormones in food. You don't want hormones in food, but a lot of these companies are putting hormones in their chickens and their cows to get them as big as possible so they can kill them and have them on your table as soon as possible and make money from that. They don't care about your health, and that's why we now have about 73,000 cases of E. coli each year. And this isn't just your standard E. coli. What's happening is new strands of E. coli are being created because of this factory farming. And again, with this comes diabetes and obesity, and there's a reason why all of these things seem to be becoming more of an epidemic, where our parents didn't really see this as much. It wasn't as much of an issue. So a lot of this comes from the way animals are treated. So actually, PETA on their website, they have an article titled Factory Farming, Misery for Animals. There was no date when it was written, but I assume it's been around for a while because factory farming has unfortunately now been around for a while. So they state, animals are crammed in by the thousands into filthy, windowless sheds and stuffed into wire cages, metal crates, and other torturous devices. These animals will never raise families, root around in the soil, or do anything natural and important to them. Most won't even feel the warmth of the sun on their backs or breathe fresh air until they're loaded onto trucks and headed to slaughterhouses. So if you watch Food Inc. after this, which hopefully you will, these animals are literally piled up into the thousands, walking around disgusting conditions. They go to the bathroom where they live. They never leave that. So think about that. That's your food. That's living like that. That's going to go into your body. You want to be concerned about that. I know I'd be concerned about that, and obviously I am. And that's why something has to be done about this, because right now, not a whole lot's being done about it. And so these companies actually hire local farmers to raise these chickens. But what's happening is that, or to raise these cows, but what's happening now is that they're putting so many regulations on the farmers that the farmers really have no control of their farming. They have to do what they're told, otherwise they won't get paid. If they don't do exactly what these big companies like Purdue or Tyson tell them to do, they'll lose their jobs and their livelihood. And what's interesting is these companies actually hire almost like they're private investigators to check up randomly on these farmers and make sure they're doing exactly what they're told to do, even if they don't agree with it or they don't want to do it. That's your job, tough. So it's insane. So lastly, I'm going to talk to you about workers and farmers' rights and how that ties into this, and where your food comes from. So basically, recently, this past February, a group of small farmers sued Tyson because of what was happening to them. So what happened, Tom Polensek wrote this in 2017, an article about farmers' rights, and he said, in this article, Tyson Pilgrim's Pride and others too, he said Tyson Pilgrim's Pride Company and other companies illegally agreed to share detailed data on farmer pay with one another to keep competition below competitive levels. So these farmers they're not being treated equally for a reason, and it's horrible, and they're being paid low wages for work most of them don't agree with, and that's why it's so hard now to know where your food comes from, because you can't just look at a farm and say, oh, I know that farmer and he's been doing it, like I know he's a good farmer and has a good reputation, because it's not that farmer's reputation, it's the company's reputation. And what's interesting is actually shortly after this, the Obama administration put a rule in place that made it a little bit easier for these small farmers to stand up for themselves and even sue. But the Trump administration froze this law, which I don't think a lot of people know about because there's so many other big issues happening. But something has to be done about this, and it doesn't seem like a whole lot is. So we need to think about our health, the health of the animals, which in turn is our health because we're eating that. And it all goes back to the farmers' rights, because they're forced to have the animals in this condition, which then go onto our plate and we digest. So those are all very important to me, and I think as well as to you. And I encourage each of you now to go watch Food Inc. It's on Netflix, it's everywhere, and share it with others, because we need to fix this. Thank you.